Hi there YouTube, it's Andy from All Things Mini, yet again, with a quick, hopefully quick, although my videos do have a tendency to really drag on, a quick video on a technique which I use, masking fluid. Now, I don't know how many people do this. This is a very useful tool for, obviously, for masking areas which you don't want to be painted if you're doing a broad paint scheme on something. Now, around here somewhere, it's my Tamiya tape, I've just seen it. But if you use Tamiya tape, you can use it and you get the straight edges, you know, pretend that's a Tamiya tape, and basically you can use, you know, the straight edge there. You know, it'll be covered and then you pull it away. Lester Bursley does a fantastic thing on his Space Wolves painting tutorial, which I use for my well, my swords, like well, you've seen them anyway. Yes, masking fluid, right? Now it's a sort of, I think it's silicone based or whatever, but anyway, it smells of fish, and it's waterproof, but it does cling until you rub it off, which is the main reason for why you want to use it. I got this when I was doing a little while back. I was quite big into watercolors, and you do this when you want to sort of have white coming through or want to protect certain areas, and you basically just paint your watercolor over. And you know, in effect, acrylics are nothing more than just slightly thicker watercolors, or depending on the level of fluid nature that you want your acrylics to go, it is a watercolor, but a plasticized watercolor anyway. Now, another another important aspect with this is called Cool Blue, used with a mask pen. Yeah, you get these special pens that you can use whatever, you know, you can use it with a paintbrush, doesn't matter. Now, if I can open this up, as you see, it's blue, and it's a very important thing because sometimes, well, it will dry quite clear if you put it on quite thin. If you want to see where this stuff is going, you want the blue one. You can maybe put in a little bit of blue ink in there, but I don't know if it's going to change the sort of properties, the masking properties of this, so I buy mine already coloured. The most important aspect for this technique is, of course, your brush cleaner, and it is massively important that you use a brush cleaner, and you basically leave the sort of the soap on the brush to help protect this from this, because when this dries, it will ruin your brush if it dries there, on your bristles that is. Now, what we are going to look at today is, I'm getting on to, I can't remember, my Dread Fleet, my final two ships. And as you can see, I've already done a blending. Hopefully the lights and what else have you aren't too bad, so you can't really see it, but I've got like a gold, I've got Vallejo, no, that's bright brass, anyway, yeah, I've got Vallejo Model Air Gold sort of up, and then I've got a highlight of the bright brass because it's quite a nice reflective goldy colour on a downward trajectory onto each of these sails, and I did it for the same on this and this, but I'm not going to really bother with that one today. I'm just going to show you on maybe these two. Now, I want to protect this the gold colours. Now, I've already put some masking fluid on a part of the laurels around there and the skull face there. Now, excuse me, I want to cover all the bits I want to remain this colour, because I'm going to give a graded deep red, well, not a deep red, a bright red, and going slightly deeper here, maybe a bit lighter up there, if you can see that. Yeah, so red, darker red, lighter red up there for some sort of like colour variation, sun hitting it and so on and so forth. And I'm going to do that, but of course, if I'm going to do it with an airbrush, I'm going to get it all over this, so in which case that might mean I have to go over this with just a brush work, but then I won't get the blending from the previous stuff. So if we check this one out, we shall have a look. Right. So let's first get our brush lathered up. So you don't want it too watery, you don't want it too soapy, just basically lather, and then get it into a point, because this stuff comes out rather odd. So there we go, so that's nice and covered. Now, when you're using your masking fluid, unfortunately I'm under 6 halogen lights, so I've got to work rather quickly. You will have to work relatively quickly anyway. but I've got to make sure I work a little bit quicker because this stuff's going to start drying. As you can see, there's a big blob of it there, not useful, so I'm going to have to sort of thin it out a little bit and then work rather quickly. This technique is useful. Oh, damn it. That wasn't good. This technique is useful. It's not an infallible technique to use. Damn, that's really worked well, hasn't it? Now, you might have noticed that my hand shaking is because I'm getting near lunchtime and I'm relatively hungry. And as your body starts to sort of need a bit of sugar and food, you will find you get shakes. So I will have to be doing this for when I have some dinner. So now, one thing that I do say is very important with this technique is periodically recoat your brush in this, because there will be a point that this stuff starts to run out on your bristles, and then that stuff soaks in. And I mean, if you're like me and you like to use some really good brushes, this one's my Series 7 Finer Sable. This brush on its own, I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it's quite a lot of money. And I got two of them. I got the 0 and the 1, and they are really, they were, you know, sort of 20, nearly 30 quid for just the two of them. So I mean, you know, you can get some which are more expensive, you can get some which are downside cheaper, but if you want some really good quality brushes, and of course Winsor & Newton are one of the best art suppliers in the world, I don't want to ruin my brushes, so you know, so that's why I just make sure that I just reapply this every so often. Now we'll get onto the music in just a sec, and basically I'll carry on with masking this part here, masking over here. I've done that. Yes. So we'll just basically, you know, do the last bit of masking and then get on with it. Right, now that we've actually got all of these little bits covered, as you can see, it doesn't look like they've been covered, and they just look normal. There's a tiny little gloss I can see on them. If I was to rub them off, you know, it won't make any blind bit of difference, unfortunately. Now, on some of the sections, I wasn't as clean as I wanted to be. I know there's going to be some sort of like little overlying bit of masking fluid here. There's a few bits around the place and what else have you. It's a bit of a shame, but it's a good technique to use, but you will most probably require a little bit of tidying up. But the main thing for this technique is that the level of tidying up isn't massively important. You don't need a huge amount of tidying up. So what I am going to do, I was actually going to use my bloody red and get ready to start doing this. Now I just realised I haven't masked this one up because I've got to spray this one and blend this one in, so I'll do that now before I forget it. So out with the old bone white. Might take a couple of layers of that. 3 drops to 3 drops of that, and then the 1 drop of the obligatory water fluid mix. Now my water fluid mix, just in case, oh dear me, there we go, that was a good catch, and the soggy brush to mix it all. Not that one, because that one's got an awful lot of metallics in it. Just in case you don't know, it's about a 10% mixture for that, so 10% fluid to water, and it's the same sort of Liquitex stuff that Lester Bursley uses, and well, other people as well. So anyway, right, I shall crank that one up. Right, YouTube. Now that's now dry. In the intermission, so to speak, I squirt another batch of red onto it. Mainly because the other one was way too thin. You can see there's like splodges and stuff there. That doesn't look good. That will have to be rectified. But at the moment, I'm more interested in trying to get the front dealt with. This is when you actually see the sort of the effects of the what's it called, the masking fluid, because it looks quite crappy on places where it's actually protecting, and so it should, because you know it's good to have that kind of indicator. Now I want a dark red for some sort of low areas, and hopefully here, as you might be able to see, then again you might not. There we go. I've got like quite a winey red there, and it's a mixture. This is a dark red. I thought, oh, I'll give that a try. It came out a bit too light. It came out a very light pink, because as you can see, some of the settling here hasn't worked very well, and I did shake it up, but at the very top I've actually got some of the white sort of stuff inside here. I've got the white stuck up in the top nozzle there, so I had to, you know, get that out. Then I thought I'd give it a couple of drops of black, and well, I don't mean big drops, I mean, you know, tiny little drops of black ink, which made it turn to a very dull brown, and in which case I wanted to liven it back up. Gave it about 5 blasts of this ink, just to give that richness again. Hopefully it won't look a bit too weird, but we'll soon see. Now, as you can see, there's a slight shine to it, slightly unfortunate, but that comes from the ink, so I might just leave that on there. It looks quite nice, but the grading is very subtle. I'm hoping you are able to pick this up, but it is very subtle indeed. Now for the top. Right, grading done. I've given it a couple of minutes just to sit and sort of be relatively happy. Now here comes the moment of truth. On removing masking fluid, it can be just as bad as if you hadn't put it on there in the first place. Sometimes you end up scraping away at things, so you've got to do it relatively carefully. Some people use you know, some kind of brushing. Some people use cotton wool buds and that kind of thing. Some people use fingers. Most people in watercolours use fingers, and I use fingers. And the thing is that you can, you know, rub rubbish from your fingers onto your paintwork. So, you know, it's things that you've got to be careful with. But let's see how this one goes. Well, that one's actually not too bad at the moment. That one's come through rather nicely. Now there will be bits of masking fluid maybe trapped in certain areas, which I will have to work out with maybe with a needle or something like that. But actually in general that's not looking too bad. I mean, as you can see, the masking fluid at the top there's just slightly a bit too much for the laurels. This side here has worked out okay. Now how did this lot fare? Looks like lottery scratch cards, isn't it? Ooh, look at this, how much have I won? Nothing. Because that's normally the way. Now, as you can see, you know, some bits have come off rather well. Some bits, you know, just need a little bit tidying up. In general, I'm rather chuffed with that. There's a saying that we've got in science, and certainly in physics, and you might have been told this when you're at school or college or uni or whatever. And the funny thing is that they say that you have, and for the three sciences, not that you can really class biology, dear me, as he says something like that, but basically, yeah, with the three sciences, in biology, it breathes, in chemistry it smells, and in physics it doesn't work. And that's normally the truth, but actually I'm rather quite chuffed with something like this. This is working okay. Now on tidying up, like here, as you can see, there's a little splodge there that's been a bit overdone with the old masking fluid. Yeah, it's gonna have to be a careful bit of mending there, and maybe around about there. But in general, as you can see, there's very little tidying up needed to be done. Behind the actual these parts here, we got. I mean, as you can see, I will have to put a little bit of stuff in there, but otherwise, I mean, as I said, you know, as you can see for yourself, works rather nicely. Behind our sort of focal points, these designs, they stand out nicely. The background has got a lovely 3-colour grade. So there we go. It's worked rather well, and I'm rather chuffed with that. So there we go. That's on how to use masking fluid. I shall just recap. Remember to coat your paint brush in your cleaner and leave it with that coated. Dip it into there, but work quite quickly because it does have a tendency to dry quickly. Sometimes if you're drying it a bit too quickly, if it dries a bit too quickly, then it has a tendency to actually sort of remove what you've actually put on because it sort of sticks to it. Once you've done it, apply your colours. Give it a little while just for your colours to sit, because you don't want to start rubbing straight away to get this stuff off when it's still waiting to sort of bind onto your plastic. Rub it off gently, and then, you know, admire the results afterwards. Okay then, people of YouTube, that's me done and dusted for another tutorial. I shall catch you soon. Oh, and whack the camera a bit more. Cheers.